For everybody being here, but the first order of business is, because this is a public meeting and we have a quorum of the commissioners here, it's really an official meeting, so I'd like to ask our city clerk, Lindsay Parrish, to please call roll. Present. The next order of business, I will introduce my colleague, Neil Ward, who we partnered with, the owner of Bob's Drive-In. We partnered on to set up these Southside meetings. I think he's got a few remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank all y'all for coming. I do want to thank a few people in particular. Let me just tell y'all where we got started. There's several of the commissioners and also the mayor who had campaigned on helping out the South Side. I've been very fortunate because of customers like y'all that have supported me for 42 years, and this is the first time that we've had that. So about a week and a half ago, Miss Wilson and I have done some business with. I called her, she wrote down some notes, and within 3 hours, the mayor had called me and said, hey, I agree with you. Let's see what we can put together. So we will all meet 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people and just see where we could go. And several people, more people wanted to get involved. So that's why we're having this meeting tonight. And we also are planning on another meeting a week tonight from 5 to 6:30. And I'm hoping, and I'm sure the commissioner and the mayor, if we need more than that, we will. So the mayor will go over some ground rules here in a little bit, but we'll just move forward. We want to thank Brandy from Surrey's for hosting us. And I want to challenge you, if you got any events or any catering, she does a great job here. She's been on the South Side many years, and she's nice enough to host this for us free of charge, so we really do appreciate that. I'd also like to thank several people on the South Side. I know there's usually a lot of negative things, and the bullet points that we'll go through in a minute of what we're looking for, but there's also a lot of positive things. If you notice what's going on, Keith Merck just is moving across 3 or 4 blocks. He has bought the Jackson Purchase. Jason Singer has bought the Image Graphics and spent several $100,000. Wynn Tech has bought the old shoe factory and done the same thing. Billy Harper, the paper has said, has spent over $1 million on a new silo over there. And there's also a lot of us other business people who are investing a lot of time, effort, and money into the South Side. It may not be as much, but it's just as much to us that it's so important, and we all love the South Side. I cannot thank y'all enough how South Side has supported Bob's Drive-In. Larry Wilson's actually over the tracks, but Larry vouched the South Side has definitely supported us, and there's a lot of things going on like that. Again, how we got here is just basically to talk to the mayor. The commissioner, Henderson, came out last Monday. Nice meeting you, Mr. Henderson, Brother Henderson, excuse me. And had some great ideals and going to think that. The 4 or 5 major points that everybody I have talked to about has been, and the mayor knows these, the commissioners know these, Brother Henderson does for sure, is the storm drain. CFSB bought the Florence and Hudson building, and they've had to put sandbags in front of their door when it rains real hard to keep water from coming up there. Same thing here. So the mayor has said, and I'll let him speak for himself, that we can get people together where we know things like that. They dilapidated and just straightforward. The 2 motels here have been dilapidated for 20, 25 years. And they've been and some of the one beside the old Sambo's, I think, has been longer than that. There's a homeless population where they're coming out, and some of the business I've talked to where they have come around and got in vehicles and spent the night with vehicles and things like that. So they are familiar with that. I think they got a game plan, or hopefully in the next 30, 60, 90 days, we will have a game plan to do that. But I thank everybody for being here. Mayor, I'll let you go ahead and just go over the ground rules, if you don't mind, please.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it very much. Just remind everybody about, as best you can, social distancing, and keep your mask on when you're not talking or when you're out moving around as best you can. Appreciate it very much. We do see some light at the end of the tunnel. on the pandemic as vaccines are starting to get out there. The idea for the meeting tonight is to listen. I want to make sure. I'd like the commissioners to stand up and just Commissioner Guest, David Guest, Commissioner Ronaldo Henderson, Commissioners Sandra Wilson, and Commissioner Carol Galt. These are my partners in crime. One of the things about our form of government, in the city manager form of government, is the mayor himself or herself has no executive powers. The executive powers and what we get done comes as a team. And so that's why we're here together tonight to talk about the South Side. Thank you all. Tonight, the idea tonight really is to listen. I think we know a lot about what's going on here at the South Side, but I think what the first and foremost, most important thing that we can do is to make sure that we are listening to the people who live here, work here, and or in many cases, people that grew up here and maybe moved to another section of the city and are very interested in what we do. We do have our eye on some things that need to get done. We know that. We think we know that, but we want to validate some of those things, and we want to make sure that we hear from you. So the ground rules, and I know there's some people that have signed up out there to speak. Do we have a list of people actually, or? And we're glad. We want anybody that wants to speak. We're glad to have you speak. We're going to set a timer because there's so many people here tonight. We're going to set a timer to 2 minutes. And so we're going to ask you if you've got something on your mind and you want to come up here and speak, that you limit it to 2 minutes. We also were going to ask you to come up here because there's no way that we can mic you up. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, Facebook Live, WPSD's here. So if you want to speak, we're going to respectfully ask that you come up here and speak and try to be succinct and get your point across and allow somebody else to get up here and say something. And if somebody before you says exactly the same thing as you, then we've captured their comment, I promise. There's people taking notes, and we will, the commissioners will all meet, go over the notes from the meeting. We've got, as Neil said, we've got another meeting coming up next Thursday night. And if we have as good a turnout next Thursday night as we do tonight, we'll consider that to be real successful. Commissioner Henderson and I have been working together on this focus on the South Side. Ray, do you have anything you'd like to say before we get started? You good? Okay. All right. Sure. Great.
That might be
Yeah.
easier.
Okay.
Because
Okay. Linda Burnett?
I just want to know if there's anything that can, any way a fence can be built around Garrett's junkyard at the corner of Little Avenue and State Street.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you through the mask.
If there's anything that can be done about putting a fence around Garrett's junkyard
Okay.
at the corner of Little Avenue and State Street.
We'll capture that, and I appreciate the input, and we
Thank you.
definitely have it captured, and we'll discuss it, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, Gail.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to focus on bringing more economic opportunity to the side of town. I know that microloans have seen a lot of success in other places, and possibly just making it easier for smaller businesses to just get started over here would be one of my top priorities for sure. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's microloans are, that's a concept that's really kind of taken hold in other places. I haven't seen a lot of them. We got bankers here tonight. CFSB is well represented, so that's something we can talk about. Holt? Daniel Cohn?
I am actually real glad I get to follow that comment from you up, because park access in this part of town is drastically different from the nicer parts of town. When I first moved here, the cheapest place in town was the Southside. This is the first place I called home in Paducah. Park access was very limited, and surely with CFSB here, they have done a lot of investing to make their new Southside location look beautiful. Surely the city could do a public-private partnership to take care of part of that as the Parks Department and have it be a public park for the community.
Okay, did we get that? Did everybody understand? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Logan Blewett. My wife owns Blewett Music Studio here at the corner of Clements and Farley Place. Some of you that are really know the area that used to be Trinity United Methodist and Open Door Baptist. Talk about investment. We've put in almost $500,000 into that facility to make it our own personal home and business. What we have noticed in our placement there in the past, we've moved to there in about 3 years ago. Sidewalks in this area are deplorable. And what I have noticed, and from my own research, city code requires the local landowner to maintain the sidewalk. The landowners in this area don't have the income to do that kind of work. It would not only would spruce up our whole area by sprucing up the sidewalks, because my wife and I walk quite regularly down Powell Street. We could twist our ankle every night when we walk. So then it's a liability on the city. So it would really be nice to help spruce. That would be, I think, a catalyst for just general improvement overall of sidewalks as well as the homes in the area, as we have done with our own facility trying to spruce up the Farley Place area. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really like that idea. We've actually kicked around. We've already had some discussions about redevelopment and some possible incentives in certain parts of town. One of the things you bring up is really just maintaining your own sidewalk, and if somebody doesn't have the ability or the wherewithal, or they're in a situation where they can't We've kicked around the idea of getting volunteer groups involved, which we think is a viable concept, but appreciate you bringing that up. Next. Claudia Washburn. Maybe take your mask off while you speak.
Thank you. I have had a couple of businesses on the south side, and right now, one of them is closed. But while I had the business, I had the idea, and I did a little research about a Southside Retailers Association. Be strictly nonprofit, promote advertising, and bring the public into this side of town instead of traveling to the other side, because we have everything here pretty much that you can get on the other side of town. So that was my research. Okay.
That's excellent. I mean, one of the things that, I just want to say as mayor and, in looking at the opportunity here, I think there's certain things that the city can do. There's certain things that the city can stimulate. We can be a convener. We can be a cornerstone to do things, but I think real progress is going to come from people who want to be energized and help. So Southside Retailers Association, getting an association like that going, getting legs, getting somebody who wants to help lead that, I think is a fantastic idea, but it takes people. So next, Lindsay. Okay. All right, those are the people that signed up. We've got a hand raised. Would you mind coming up and just telling us your name and
You people know me. You may have to cut me off, but I'll try to talk really fast. I'm Shannon Poindexter. I'm here with my husband, Chris Poindexter. Chris grew up in the Farley area. We live in the Reedland area, but we own property, family property on Husbands Road. I have a real concern about the crime in that area. I would like to see a better police presence if that's possible. I would like to see less drugs in the area, more places for those homeless to go and be took care of. Some of the things that I also had written down was some beautification in the area. I think that's important. I think it goes without saying. There's a lot of rundown properties here that need to be cleaned up. I also know that that's the responsibility of the property owner, but like my husband has told me many times, the city has to get behind those property owners and hold them toe-to-toe for that and make that happen, and let's see some progress with that. I agree with the gentleman about needing parks. I think that's really important. I'd also like to see a dog park with that, some beautification, bringing in some kind of youth sports activities. If we could do that, I would like to see new businesses like they've mentioned. I don't shop at the mall. I don't go out there. I work for Mercy Health. It's not that I'm not around there. I shop on the south side as much as I can. My husband and I both do. We think that's important, and we try to support the businesses here. But there has to be, like you've mentioned, community involvement and community behind that. And we're looking at the city, from my perspective, to help with that from the legal side of it and what we can do with looking for funds to make things better here. The crime, I think everybody here cannot say that the crime has not gone up in this area. It really has, and it's really scary. There's times when I would have gotten out of my vehicle and not looked around, and I'm very cautious now looking around. After hours, when I had to take care of my mother on Husbands Road, it was scary to me. People walking down the road, the middle of the road, yelling. I don't know, what we can do about that, but there needs to be some better monitoring of that so that people feel safe. The old Farley School, I'd like to know more about what the plans are for that and what we can do with that space.
Thank you very much. The Old Farley School is actually in the county, right? Yeah, I believe it's in the county, and Yeah, I don't have a map, but the line is pretty close. Actually. Okay. Yes, ma'am. That's correct. So I think, the point is that there, and I'm not surprised this has come up because, part of the South Side is in the county, and so, that's in, and the county is really, although it's not correct. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She's, what was your name again? Well, you told me once, and if I could remember it, I would have called it out. How I ever got elected without being able to remember people's names, I don't know, but what she's talking about is the city-county line and where the city stops and the county begins, and whether or not county laws are applicable, where the city code enforcement, as an example, where that stops, and it stops at the city line, at wherever the city limits are. But the last person that spoke up here brought up a good point, and that is the idea of code enforcement. So the city has a code, and you could probably, a lot of people could drive around the city and wouldn't have to go far to see people that that are out of compliance with code enforcement. So we kind of have a decision to make. There's a couple things that go into that. A, do we have the resources? Do we have the people, to actually put in place to do the code enforcement? And then when we find somebody out of compliance, what's the next step? We write somebody up, we give them we fine them, some amount of money. And then we're in a position we have to try to collect that. So, that's something that's come up in my first couple of months since I've been here, and it's something that we're gonna try to learn more about. But I think the key to getting things done is the correct manner in which we do code enforcement. And it's something that we're definitely going to focus on. I see a hand in the back. Would you please come up so you can speak?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Pastor Shackelford. I heard what you're saying about the code enforcement. And I had a sign on my door before people came to my office that said, I'd rather hear somebody say, I have an answer than I have a problem. Pointing out a problem to a person don't do nothing but put more anxiety and stress on them. They know they have a problem. A lot of times they don't have the finances to fix the problem. So going there and code, I understand coding and making sure everybody know that their stuff should be up to par. But the answer is, did anybody take time out and find out why it's not? Right now, my fence on my house is tore up because the city tore down the house that was beside me that caught on fire. Now, nobody knocked on my door and said, we dropped the house on your fence. But they feel like, I'm sure the rest of Paducah is saying, why this man fence is like this? How come nobody's went over to fix it? So just going around throwing codes and stressing people out and harassing them about an issue and not finding out what the problem is not an answer. It's just more of a problem for that person. And all because people don't have money don't make them not citizens. They get taxed just as much as everybody else. We need to have a mind frame for everybody, not everybody that got money. Do I need to say that again? We need to have a mind frame for everybody, not everybody that got money. And I'm not saying that's wrong with people who have money. But what I'm saying is find out what the problem is before you go knocking on their door with another problem on top of it. Level of suicide is high right now. People are dealing with coronas and other issues. People are getting laid off on jobs. Business are shutting down. And everybody act like none of this is happening. All everybody want to do is bring more problems on people. I really didn't come up here to say that. I come up here to ask, is there any possibility of getting a nice or decent gas station downtown? I hate having to drive all the way out to get some gas, all because I live on Husband Street, not Husband Road. So I am in the limits. So I understand sending inspectors, but you're gonna send an inspector what? To make it worse? They know they have a problem. See if the inspector can come up with a solution to help that person, then knock on the doors. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we make sure that we get your address so I can follow up on your fence? Okay. This probably won't be the last time I step in it tonight, so. I didn't express myself very well, but I guess, you know, when I brought up the issue of code enforcement, I was trying to really say that, you know, there was two sides to it. You know, people can be out of compliance with the code, but we know there's issues. And we know that people are in different situations, and we know that the pandemic has brought on a lot of pain and agony and more suicides. So we're very well aware of that. And that's why we're going to take a lot of time and care before we run out and do anything. So very much appreciate your remarks. Anyone else? Do we have? Okay, yes, sir.
My name's Justin Halverson with AAA Storage. My family moved back here about 30 years ago, and my dad's house was actually on Lieberman Street. We moved back. My brother and I used to walk for dollar cones and Fiesta Burger and dogs. Best memories I got, so appreciate that. Just to kind of piggyback on what our mayor and was just saying on code enforcement, we made a large investment several years ago on the corner of Bridge Street and Irvin Cobb. Gas station, Superway right across the street, has gone through a major facelift last 6 or 8 months. If you've not been over there, take a look. It looks great. It has not been specifically named, so I wanted to come up and just mention it, but there's that rehab care center on the other corner. It's been abandoned since I've lived here 4 or 5 years. I've seen in the news that there's been people wanting to buy it. Haven't really seen much more on why that hasn't happened, so I just want to put that in y'all's hat to look into. That Superway looks great, so if we can find out a way of either demoing or doing whatever we can with that building, it could go a long way on the beautification of the south side. Also, thank you to the commissioners and the mayor for allowing this today. Since I've lived here, nothing like this has ever happened over here. So you're gonna hear a lot of frustration, et cetera, but I think I speak for everybody when we say we really appreciate y'all taking the time to hear all of this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it very much. And, you know, talking about demolition, and I know that's on people's mind. Neil mentioned it in his opening remarks. I know that's on people's minds. You know, it takes money to do that, and money that's got to be budgeted. It's definitely on my mind and on the commission's mind. You know, we're getting ready to go through our budget cycle. You know, we're keeping an eye a lot on our expenses and our revenues at this point because, you know, our revenues have been impacted by the pandemic, just like a lot of businesses have. So we're getting ready to go through what I call budget season, where we look at where we're going to spend the money for next year. And so things that are being mentioning here tonight are certainly things that, we've talked about. How much do we need to budget for demolition? How can we go about that? So it's definitely going to be something on our minds. Did we have a hand raised back there in the back, and you next?
Hey everyone, I wasn't planning on speaking. I'm a little nervous. I've been indoors for a while, so first public event. But I grew up in Farley, right across the line, but I work in the city now, and I've been involved for many years. I mean, I grew up here. Pretty proud. Thanks for hosting this. It means a lot. One thing I want to note is homelessness was mentioned, and it bothers me when we frame homelessness as an issue to fix and not people experiencing homelessness because of a lot of the circumstances that might be out of their control. And I really think if we want to talk about homelessness, we need to talk about poverty rates, but specifically housing costs, improving affordable housing, making sure that affordable housing is quality, and also consider that increasing policing is not going to make communities safer, especially if you are a person who is going to be targeted by police violence. So if we're talking about community safety, we really need to focus on things that provide safety, like shelter, food access. We've got a really great community organization right next to us. I'm blanking on their names, but Heidi Heinrich runs it. Someone give me their name. What is their name? They're literally right next door. Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of it. They do great work. Looking to community partners like that who are already doing the work to make sure people have their needs met is going to build up our community safety in ways that don't put people in direct danger. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And if you have more to say and you want to come up to the mic, we'll be glad to give you a spot. And I've seen some other people that got their hands raised. Did you? Yes, ma'am.
I really wasn't planning on talking either, but something came to me when we were talking about houses and buildings that need to be torn down. I remember something in the city, so some of you that have been around in the city government, when you did the program, if you tore the house down, you got the lot for $1. Like you had to pay the city $1, you tear the house down, you can do whatever you want with it. Now you can't buy the lot for $1 and try to fix the house that's there. You would have to tear it down. So I would like maybe something like that could come on the south side, because I know that a lot of lots in the city, people bought them for $1 and tore it down and then came back and built a really nice house. I'm a real estate agent and I've been selling real estate for 22 years. And I can tell you that the home values on the south side and Reedland have always been lower than the home values in the city, on the west end, on the other side in Heath and all that. It's always been that way. We got a real black eye when McCracken County built the school on the other side, because 2 or 3 years before that McCracken County High School was built, people were selling like crazy in Reedland and moving out there because they thought that their kids were going to have to be on the school bus, the elementary and the middle school kids were going to have to be on the school bus for 2 hours, which is not true. They forgot that the elementary school and middle schools were not going to move. So after about 10 years of this, it's kind of came back and people are coming back to the south side and making their home in the Reedland area as well. I know we're not in the city, but that's still kind of what I'm talking about. But there's a whole lot of vacant houses that I wish that could be looked into. I mean, I look at them all the time and I can find out who owns them. So why can't those people be called and say, if you don't want to keep your house up, then let us, get somebody sell it and tear it down. So I think that would be a program that you might look at on the south side like you did in Lower Town.
Thank you. I actually spent a couple hours last week with Sharon Pote, who runs Midtown Alliance, Midtown Alliance, and they did the project in Fountain Avenue. So, you know, I think we definitely need to look at something like that in another area of town, and so we've already started some discussions. But again, you know, like tearing down a house and then selling the lot for $1, you know, it takes money, so it's not maybe it's not a big deal to do one or two, but sure. Oh, okay. 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 It's a good idea, and we're taking all ideas, but we're definitely going to follow up. So, okay, I see a hand raised back there in the back. Yes, sir?
Been listening to a lot of people, comments about homeless in Paducah. So I figured I'd come up here and be transparent. I grew up in St. Louis, and I moved to Cairo. When I moved to Cairo, I was doing pretty good. Didn't know nothing about Cairo. I lost everything I owned. I looked at the map, the closest place was Paducah. Had a pretty good size. It was here in Cape Girardeau. I moved here. I had $10 in my pocket. Didn't know a soul. I slept on 10th Street Park bench. Okay? I was homeless. Everybody's homeless is not a criminal. Everybody homeless is not a bad person. You don't know what somebody been through. And I was blessed. There was somebody like J.W. Cleary that was opened up his business to me to get started. From there on, there was other people in this community that just pretty much put themselves around me, where after a while I was able to get my GED. Then I went on to West Kentucky and got my college degree and got my bachelor's degree. And then later on after that, things kept on moving while now I'm a bus driver at for the Paducah Public Schools, and as well became a pastor. And then after that, I bought property. Now here I would come here sleeping on a park bench, not knowing a soul, with no education, $10 in my pocket and a bag of clothes and a little airbrush gun. But now I own several properties here. Let's quit being so hard on the homeless here, because the homeless one day, if with the right love and the right people that's pouring into them, will be a very valuable citizen that is grateful. I hear a lot of people telling our children, get an education, move away from here, don't come back, there's nothing in Paducah. I don't tell people that. I tell people, get an education. If you have to go away, learn a skill, bring back and pour back in this community, because this is a beautiful place. I come from a place where everywhere I live and went, there were bars on the windows, bars on the doors. If I had to buy something from the grocery store or the restaurant, I had to talk to them through a bulletproof glass that they spun around. Paducah, we can still leave our doors open. It's not as bad as you think it is. So please, stop watching television telling you about the homeless. I understand there are some bad homeless, but you should be very well pleased with the way Paducah is. There are people who still come here with a dream and want to advance in life. I still tell people back home about this place, and some of them are moving here and becoming very valuable citizens. So let's kind of lay off on the homeless people and look at them in a different light. Everybody's not bad.
Thank you, Pastor, and congratulations to you on your success in life. Any other? Okay, I see Emerson back there. And then this gentleman right over here.
Good evening. Like a previous speaker said, I did not plan to speak this evening, but I'm excited to be here because I understand it's the first time that we've got people together to talk about a part of Paducah that we all care about. I represent Kentucky Care. Hopefully you all have heard the name. We provide health care for everybody, regardless of their insurance status. So we see people without insurance and we see people with insurance. And I'm not here to make a commercial. I'm here to encourage the city to do what it can do, like it did for Lower Town and like it did for the Fountain area. It is going to take money. Nothing good comes without money. You can't revitalize something without money. And I know there's a group of folks that are going to say, well, you can't fix stuff by throwing money at it. I don't know what you can fix without money. So yes, it's budget season, but we fix Lower Town, we fix Fountain area. Let's find the political will, and then we can find the money. And I do want to say, I want to thank the city and the chamber for all the help they've given us in growing. And oh, by the way, we're invested on the south side. We're building a $1.6 million building right on the business loop. Hopefully you seeing it come up. When we get done and putting all the equipment in, it'll be about a $2 million investment in the south side of Paducah.
Thank you, Emerson. It's a great message, and appreciate your leadership and all the things that you do for our community. Yes, sir. Bill Dunn.
Evening, everyone. Glad to see everybody still here and all the commission, and the mayor, of course. Last year, I went on one of the Southside walks with our Mayor Harless at the time, and I went to talk to her for one thing. I wanted the streets swept along Wayne Sullivan Drive and Irvin Cobb. She told me that the reason why the streets weren't being swept anymore was because the city charged, or the state would pay the city to sweep the streets with the street sweeper that we've got, that I see go up and down downtown all the time. The state doesn't pay the city to do that anymore, and that's the reason why the streets hadn't been swept. I would appreciate it if Wayne Sullivan Drive and Irvin Cobb could be swept at least once a year. It would make a huge difference. Especially the street over there on Wayne Sullivan Drive by Federal Materials is absolutely filthy with sand and whatnot. I'm pleading to just sweep the street. Even the middle of the street would be good too, but especially the curbs of the gutters. It looks awful. That's all I've got to say.
Seems like we ought to give him a hand. Thanks, Bill. We'll look into that. They made me promise before I came tonight not to make any promises. They said, be careful, George, because you can't, but we're listening. We're listening, and we're getting a lot of ideas, and a lot of, and like sweeping the street and cleaning up certain things that where the city has the ability to do that. I absolutely believe that we need to do more of that. Does it take resources? Does it take people? Yes, it does, and we have to figure that out, but we need to be doing more of that. Also, as we go through this, I'm hoping that we can all figure out a way to make sure that we incentivize the people who can care for their own property and make sure that that property is kept up. And that takes all of us to do that. And I think we all want to have pride in our city, but the city needs to lead, and we're going to do that. So, I made a promise. Anyone else? Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I'm Teresa Spann. I'm the principal of McNabb Elementary, and I'm so super excited to see each one of you all here because it grieves my heart and my spirit that I have lost so many families over the years. Even as a teacher, I've been with Paducah Public Schools for 22 years. Paducah is my home. I graduated from Lone Oak, so don't hold that against me. But Paducah is my home, but it grieves my heart just to see the Southside go down. I grew up in the Southside because my grandmother lived there, and as a principal of McNabb Elementary, I've been working really hard to try to maintain our families. And so that trend started when the city decided to start turning down our public projects. And so even though I was a teacher at that time, we lost upwards of 100 students at that time at McNabb Elementary, and Morgan lost about that same amount as well because we had two projects. And then the families were basically displaced. They were in HUD homes and, just a variety of places. And so we talked a lot about homelessness and in transitions. And so we have a part to play in the city with causing some of that problem. So I've already spoken with the commissioners as well as the mayor. And so I am just excited and pumped that you all are here tonight to give voice to what it is that we need, because I am concerned that we won't have a place for my children, my students to come back to because there won't be any jobs if we don't do anything about it. So I just applaud you all for being here today, and thank you so much for hearing and doing something about it.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you over there. I apologize. But Teresa came to see me before I took office, actually, and pretty much said the same thing. Talked, a little bit about the school where you're the principal of McNabb, right, Teresa? Okay, so she's the principal of McNabb, and she's talking about the loss of students and the loss of housing and how the loss of housing contributes to a loss of students. And so your impassioned plea made an impact on me, and I've shared your story with the rest of the commission, and thank you very much for being here tonight. So, yes, sir, in the back, see one right.
To the mayor and the commissioners. I am Thaddeus Thompson. I'm the pastor of 9th Street Tabernacle Ministries here in Paducah. My wife and I, we've been here in the city for about 8 years. And I just want to encourage everybody on the south side. We are pretty experienced in home building and development. That's what we do. In the 7 years that we've been here, we purchased 2 properties. One on 1611 Monroe Street, one on 511 Fountain Avenue. And we just rolled up our sleeves, thought it out, come up with a plan, made all the right connections with the people down at the city, did what we've had to do, and we contributed to the Fountain Avenue district. Do what you can do individually. Don't look for anyone else until you've done what you can do and give it your best shot. And then I'm sure that this mayor and the commissioners will do all that they can do to help you, but just take a positive attitude about what you're going to build. And since I'm a preacher, I'm going to say this. Psalms 127:1 says, except the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keeps the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. Put God in everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor, for that very positive message. Appreciate your positive attitude, and leadership like that rubs off on other people, and it's very important. So thank you again. I saw another hand up back there. Yeah, right there. Yes, ma'am. You're next, sir.
Hello, everyone. I definitely was not going to talk today. I do not like crowds. But we have been talking about my side of town, the South Side. I live in what is now called Upper Town, which is just off Hudson Street. First of all, I'm sorry, my name is Camille Bryant, and I am a homeowner on the South Side and am a member of the South Side Association, which Pastor Shackelford is our president. I am concerned about, I'm grateful what you did in Lower Town. I'm concerned about some of the homeowners that lost their homes on when you did the revamping in Lower Town. I'm concerned about the homeowners on the South Side and all that we're going to do on the Upper Town, building it up. How can we make sure that our homeowners that are older, that are on fixed incomes, when you come and start gentrifying everything, that they're not lost in the shuffle? My mother lives on the opposite side of 10th Street, which is called over there by the Chitan. Yes. There's a whole, there are like 2 houses on every block over there. There are so many holes. We're talking about the homeless. We have become a tiny house nation. Why can't we redo the codes to start building one single home unit so we can have just one person live in a home instead of building family home units? Because a lot of our younger people are moving off and trying to find some income because they can't make it here. If we can, have smaller houses for them to start building up our neighborhoods, that would help immensely. I am concerned about what is happening at Jatan School. That was affordable housing that was let just fall down. Nobody came and started fixing on anything when things needed fixing. Those people are being moved out. What is going to happen to those what's going to happen for housing with them? What's going to happen, affordable housing on the South Side is if you don't own the home, you're renting for next to nothing in some slum. They need to revamp it. Those are just my concerns.
So thank you for those remarks, and your comment about gentrification is, that's something that's come up a number of times about some of the progress that not only we've made here in Paducah, but is happening in other parts of the country as well. The Jatan School building, I really don't have an answer for you, like where those people are going to go. We do believe that the Jatan School building project could be very positive for that area of town. And so we think, that investment coming in could really be a spark. But we'll have, I just don't have the answers today for where those people are going to go, but certainly we'll be taking a look at that. So, yes, sir. Would you like to come up? Thanks again, Camille.
Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I want to say my wife is a much, much better speaker than I am, so please just bear with me. First of all, I want to thank everybody, all our government officials for being here tonight and listening to us. I'm not here to complain. I want to thank Neil for being here. He's been a big part of all of this. Let me just say, my name is Chris Poindexter. I grew up out here in the South Side. I never left home. I've never been ashamed of that. I love the South Side. My first job I ever had, I rode my bike when I was 15 years old to work for Neil Ward. And I still tell that to that day. I have 2 T-shirts of his restaurant that he gave my wife to give me for Christmas. I love the South Side. Trust me, my world is a better place, and is my wife, when I get a Fiesta burger. Okay. Here, amen, that's right. I didn't come up here to express what I would like to see done, but just a request from anybody who will listen. It's easy for us to have a meeting, and then it's not easy. I don't want us to have a meeting, all of us express our opinions, what we think, because we all drive by places and we need to say, and we all have an idea of what we want to see happen. And next week we have another meeting, and then it goes silent. We don't hear anything. My humble request from all of our government officials is that after we meet, tell us what you need. Tell us what you want to see happen. How do we push, not how do we pick up a shovel or push up our sleeves. I don't know who the gentleman was, said it takes people, and that's exactly right. As you can see, this room is full. There are people. There are people that have big concerns. People have different concerns than others, but we all have concerns, and I think everybody here wants to see a good thing, as I heard Neil say the other night on the news, affect this side of town in a positive way. We all want to pull in the right direction, and we all want to pull in the same direction. Tell us what you want. Please, respectfully, tell us what you want whenever that time comes. Thank you.
So I think that's a very fair ask. I've been tell you what we need. I mean, I said earlier on that it takes people and it takes organization. So I don't want to say what I think we need from everybody just yet, because we want to continue to listen to make sure that we get as right as we can get it. One of the things for sure is we can't do everything, and we can't do everything. We can't be, one of the things I like to say is we can't be all things to all people, but tonight what we're trying to do is listen to the things that are recurring themes. By the way, this has been fantastic. It's been fantastic. The input that we've gotten from everybody is, when you hear it face to face, it's different. When you stand up and talk about, where you grew up and why you've lived here, that makes a difference. And that's why we had this meeting, to make sure that we could listen. So you have my word, Mr. Poindexter. We will get back to you. I just made a promise. So any other hands? Yes, ma'am. Did I see a hand? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so there's a hand for, okay. Would you? Sorry, I didn't see you. I apologize.
Mayor, commissioners, and everyone, I just wanted to make sure and kind of follow up with Mr. Poindexter. And I noticed on your flyer, it said that you're going to get a neighborhood steering committee together. Do you have a timeline on that right now so that then we can then identify as to when we can possibly see some action starting? And then also, do you have a process already thought out as to who is going to be on the steering committee and numbers of people? Sorry, I'm Japam Askew.
No, and no. No, I mean, I don't have a plan yet. I'm just being honest. So the idea, again, was to listen tonight and make sure. I mean, I have felt from the beginning that we needed to have maybe a couple of different groups. One would be, I call it the Southside Business Association, maybe Retailers Association. That would be a focus with the business community, and then maybe another one that would focus on residential. That was my thought process coming in tonight, but nothing set in stone. As far as timeline goes, I would say that we need to have the meeting next week. Then we need to compile all our notes. We need to sit down. Things in government sometimes, take longer than what anybody would like to have. But I mean, the commissioners and I will all have to get together and kind of decide, be on the same page, which we'll do. It'd probably take 30 days, something like that. But, I would say by, within 90 days, we want to come back with a suggested plan. So that's what I'll throw out there for tonight. Yes, that wasn't good enough? Sure. I'm going to stay up here since you're going to quiz me.
I understand that you're saying that then you and the commissioners and maybe some of your staff are going to get together and try and come up with a plan. When you're saying a plan is maybe just to determine the process and the timelines, or is it something, reason I'm asking is because if we're looking at something, 90 days is very reasonable, extremely reasonable with all that you guys have to do. And then the next thing is that typically when we're doing strategic planning, then you start with something similar to a steering committee. So I didn't know, exactly, because I do understand, and I like your idea about the business and then the residents as well. But then in order for it to be comprehensive, then is there a way in which we can get the steering committee and then get those individuals in there? And I think that would help you all because as you can tell, you have a lot of people here that are interested and are committed. And so therefore, we can help move these things along.
Thank you. So we have, hopefully we got everybody's email addresses, cell phones. I mean, did we capture that information on the forum? So that was really important. So, that's how we're going to stay in touch. But at some point in time, we're going to have to suggest that we get started, and we would have to assign somebody on the staff in the city to help get it started, but it needs to be a group that's run by people on the south side. So, I think our job is to get it started, to support it, and hope we can do that in 90 days. That's what I would like to do. Is that better? Okay, thank you. All right. Pastor? It would. It would help us out. There's no question about that. And so I would say that what we have to do is we have to integrate what's already being done, with this new energy, this new folks that want to be involved, and we somehow have got to get organized on that. So if you're running at the South Side, whoever is in charge of the Southside Association, if you could just let us know. I mean, I think there needs to be regular meetings, and I don't know how often you're meeting, whether or not you're meeting by Zoom because of COVID. I don't know, but we want to help. If anything we can do to help it do better, get more legs, get more people involved, we want to do that. So didn't. Well, I don't really have a good answer for that, other than, it takes. Yeah, it takes everybody working together to get things done. So, was there anybody else out there that had? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kathy. I don't currently live at the South Side, but I did when I was in high school. Lived off Flora Avenue, in case you don't know where that's at. It's right across from Clements on Bridge. When I graduated from school, I moved away. I went into the military, but my mother maintained that house for another 30 years. She didn't sell it till about 10 years ago. And because of the way that that street had become, we couldn't get her out of that house fast enough. When I made my rounds of my life, I always had intended to come back to Paducah. Paducah is my home. I graduated from Tillman, and if I get sideways, excuse me, because I'm old. And when I came back, I retired from the Postal Service, and I wanted to come back to Paducah. And I had a realtor look for me a house for several months, but I never once had him look for me a house on the South Side, because I saw what the neighborhood had done in where my mother's house was. I saw the church I went to close up, East Baptist. It went elsewhere. I just saw the neighborhood declining, and I didn't really want to come back here. We were just in the neighborhood one day, and I saw a house on the South Side that I've always admired come up for sale. It's been a hard road, and we're still trying to buy it, and y'all will recognize it if we succeed, because you will notice it will be much cleaner, because it's been vacant for quite a long time. I was very pleased to know about this meeting and that the city is interested in revitalizing the South Side, because I'm really looking forward to coming back to the South Side, because that's the main part of Paducah that I'm familiar with. I'm thrilled to see the diversity of the people here and the enthusiasm of the people here, and I am about to become, again, one of you. And I just had dinner at Bob's before we came here.
Welcome home. Anyone else? Okay, great. Would Commissioner Henderson, would you like to say a few words? Okay. Never been short of words.
Good evening. I am excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm excited about the possibilities and the potential for the south side of Paducah. This has been my cry, this has been my plea, and I think that we have a mayor and we have a commission who is ready to roll up their sleeves and get it done. So thank you for being here tonight.
Would any of the other commissioners, you have anything to say? Anybody, everybody good? Okay, so thank you very much for being here tonight. The input's been great. We've got another meeting a week from tonight. Hopefully we'll have the same kind of crowd. We'll get lots of feedback. We've captured every single comment. I know the program's been recorded tonight. So we will follow up and we will communicate via email is probably going to be the best way for us to communicate with a broad range of people like this. But it's going to take a little time, but we will put the effort in on the part of the city. So with that, because we are in a public meeting and it's an official meeting, I believe that we need a motion to adjourn. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.